Hey, you modern legends out there. Welcome back to the Missing Detail Models workbench. Today I'm going to show you some rack form canopies being attached and filling the gaps, which can be a bit tricky. To start with, if anyone's interested, this is my club's model show. I'm the show secretary. I organise this. It's in Weston-super-Mare in the UK, BS22, and it's at the Helicopter Museum. So you have access to the museum on the day, as well as the price ticket being an annual ticket to get you into the museum and any other events at the museum throughout the year. So it's well worth the entry price. Never mind the fact it's our model show, which to my mind is up there in the top tier model shows in our region. We are limited on space, so we can't go against the big boys, but there's only maybe one other big boy in our area. We have 100 tables split between 12 traders and I think 32 clubs last year. Each club with a minimum of 2 tables, each trader with a minimum of 2 tables. 12th of July this year. I'm sure I'll tell you more about that in the future. Okay, so working these rack form canopies to fit on kits they're not meant to. So this is the E. I've cut out the E parts. You've seen me how I cut them out and trim them. So what I'm going to show you today is how I fit these parts, which isn't tricky. My go-to clear part glue is, you can probably guess, the VMS Transperfix. It's great stuff. Takes about 25 hours to cure, but once it cures, this stuff is pretty solid and it's good at gap filling as well. The only thing with this stuff is you can't necessarily sand the material you've used to fill the gap. So probably it isn't going to really do the job for what I'm looking to do. Because like I say, it takes about 24 hours to fix. So I don't know how well you're going to be able to see. So here's me canopy I've cut out from the Fulcrum rack form kits, and you can see maybe just there's a very slight overhang. If I just move it, it's going to give me a very slight overhang on this side and on this side. Now rack form canopies, unless you really have to, I wouldn't really sand them down too much. Unlike polystyrene, where you could go in, sand it, then get your polishing pastes out, I found it can be a bit, you can destroy the transparency and scratch up the surface, and it's quite irredeemable because it's I don't know the properties, but it kind of it doesn't really, it does sand, but it also can go a bit chewy, if you know what I mean. So anyway, so what I want to do, the way I'm going to avoid that little step, is I want to use super glue, so I can just pin it to shape, slightly squeezing it, and then it will go off super quick. And then let me just see where it's going to go. Okay. yeah, so I can use super glue, slightly pin it or slightly squeeze it, pin it, and it'll be tacked in. And I can use the super glue to fill in any other gaps and sand it back. Now, super glue will fog vac forms, so you have to be careful. Now, I have done the F, I think, recently. It was the same thing with the F. Maybe it's the G. Yeah, it's the G. So I had the same thing with the G, just slightly overhanging, slightly too wide. So filling was required. So I used the technique of using super glue on this as well. And as you can now see, it's fully flush and it's conforming to the shape of the canopy, shape of the fuselage, I should say. Okay, so that's what we want to do. Now, I didn't do this on camera because I generally use the transfer effects. So I wanted to do some experiments. And what I found is once the, obviously you can use techniques. I generally try to blow as I'm doing it to try and keep the vapor away. You can possibly, people say you can gas off the super glue a little bit first, but generally it will slightly fog. So what I've done here, as well as having to slightly sand this panel, which is also a window on the camera, as well as having to slightly sand this one, I didn't sand them too abrasively. I used probably 800. I think it's 400 and then a 600. So the 600 is fairly polishy, and the 400 there's enough grit in there to move material. So I use that on this window here, and then as well as on this window to get rid of the fogging, I use these great things, the polishing compounds from Tamiya. I didn't use the coarse. I made sure I just used the finish, which is the finer of them of the three. And then some more Tamiya product placement here. I say that I pay for it, but yeah, these lovely stiff cotton swabs that Tamiya do. So I just fashion the end, tiny amount of let's try and fashion the other end better. Tiny amount of the polish on there, and I could just get in there like this, and that's how I brought that back to transparency. Okay, so hopefully you can see that is doing the job. And likewise at the back here, this had to have quite a lot of super glue in the back, and it's going to be similar on this E. So after testing that technique, I'm now confident enough to show you it, knowing that it works. So once this has all been glued, filled, sanded, I can get rid of any fogging from the super glue, and also where I've sanded it slightly. Okay, so what super glue we're going to use now? My go-to super glue and filler, as you might know by now, are these two: the CA filler powder and the black super glue. I love the black super glue because it's good to sculpt or to carve back, and also if you catch it before it goes really hard after many hours, it's great to scribe through as well to reinstate the panel lines and whatnot. Now, if I use this, because it's a transparent part, what you're going to see is a massive log of blackness at the edge of the clear part. What we want to do is we want to mask this and take the mask off and be able to just see framework and the interior colors. So what we're going to do is we're not going to use the black. We're also not going to use the powder because that will make it opaque, and so it'll just look like a white blob. So I'm going to use the Flexi. This is actually the resin one, but I find it works fine as just a normal CA as well. So I'm going to use this clear. Now this is going to enable me to fill a gap, and then for light to come through the material until it hits the first layer of paint on the framework, i.e. the interior colour. So that's why I'm doing this. Now this can't bleed out over past the frame of the canopy, otherwise we're going to have to clean it up. If it does, we can use some CA remover, but ideally we won't let it bleed out past the frame. So we keep it, this is the wrong piece, but we'll keep it within the lower frame, if you know what I mean. All this is frame, so as long as it doesn't pass that couple of points of a mil past the frame, this shouldn't be visible and it'll be clear. So it will just illuminate the color that's behind it. Right, now I'm not gone for some crazy sci-fi weaponizing of this 199. What this is actually a little jig I've made up. Now I don't want the piece going higher than the top of the fuselage, and I also have put a little piece in here just to hold it away from the back at the top, because the alignment is a little bad. The slope of this back angle is a little bit different on this and then on the Falcon rack form canopy kit, or rack form canopy part, the same as it was on the G. So cracking on, a little bit of CA glue. Should probably get a new beer cap at some point. Get myself a new bottle of modelling fluid and a new beer cap. So tiny bit of CA glue. And that just gone. So my CA applicator has just decided to ping off the table, I think. Oh, that's a pain. So I'll have to find that later, because my little super glue applicator is effectively as sharp as a needle, and that will be painful if someone steps on it. Okay, so new super glue applicator needed. Just a little bit of 0.5 wire. Oh, there's a bigger version. Possibly too big. There we go. Little piece of wire to apply it. Hopefully we're going to have enough light. Now I've also, just out of precaution, I've also masked the inside, not for the final paint, just temporarily. Just maybe as a little experiment, just to maybe stop the fog in. Because I need to put this back piece on first, so I can then space along and get the spacings right. Okay. So, tiny bit of CA. Now this does go quite quick, so I'm gonna have to work. Now, as I dab it, I just make sure I'm not picking up too much CA. It's only kind of going off. Okay, I think we've got one side of the stick, but not the other. So we only want a little tack, just almost like a little tack weld. Right, let's have the part off. There he is. Just tiny he is slightly attached on the other side, so I'll just keep with it. See if I can now just tuck this side in. Try and get under the camera. Yeah. I can have them off. The first attempt didn't quite work. Just going to clean that bit of CA off. Super quick drying this stuff. And we don't use too much because we really don't want to mess these parts up. Not mess them up, what I mean is we don't want to clag them up with loads of super glue. I wonder if I could just dab it in here. Tiny little bit. Okay, one side kind of worked again, but not the other. So I'm basically feeling my fingers down the side to see if it's lined up. Okay, so it's kind of tacked in there. You see it's kind of level there. It's kind of level there. So I might just put a little bit more CA. Okay, so we're slightly filling the gap now. Not too far because I need to get all these parts out. All this jig. Just run a little bit on the other side just to reinforce it. Okay, so that dry for a sec. Once that's in, I can now line up the other parts and check it's going to fit. Just get the other parts. I haven't quite finished. Piece the width. I've done the width, I just haven't done that. So we can get the Have a little go now, in fact. So back. Okay. So we can give this a quick trim. Just while we're waiting for that CA to go off. Right. I should have got this bit ready, but it really takes a sec. I'll probably do just to get it lined up. I can just fold this tape back. Right. And we do the line up. So he'll be there. Okay. I think this could do with that's my grumpy dog. You don't need to be barking. Okay. So there is actually a piece here. So I know if my canopy goes to there, it's going to work. If I line it up on there, it works. So as I go at the front, I'm not putting any masking on this one just because it doesn't need quite as much filler, and also I know I can bring it back, but it'd be harder to get the masking out from this one. So let's have a little So a little test run this time. Okay, so to there. Might actually do it a little bit away. Not rushing, but trying to work quick. Yeah. That's not particularly worked. As you can see, it just stuck to my fingers. Right. Get a quick clean up. Watch camera, and we'll go again. Easy just to what we want to make sure is that although it's going to get polished, we want to keep it fairly dust free. So I'll just give it a wipe of a cloth, or part of a cloth, and we'll go again. This time maybe I'll try and put it on the model. Applique is getting a bit dirty, so we just give it a little freshen up. Freshen up with a coarse grit. Make sure all parts of the hand, and then there we go, literally just for a single attack. See, because I can slightly squeeze it to shape, and as the super glue goes off super quick, I can set it to that shape. There we go. He is now tacked, like I was saying. So it is now flush here, and it's flush here. Whereas before he wanted to just overhang a little bit. So what I'll use now is the sort of capillary action. Let's just clean up my applicator. I'll use the capillary action just to get a bit more of the CA in there. Excuse me. Excuse the coughing, I've just had another bout of the old flu. Now what I'm going to do, So what I'm going to do is just get a bit of fresh glue, because that one is just thickening up. This one I should probably have some EMS thin. But I was telling, I was having an enjoyable chat as always with our club chairman when he gives me a lift to the sort of monthly admin meetings. And I would try to make them less admin, because it's not very exciting for any of the members, never mind new members, to come along for a 3-hour admin meeting once a month. So we're actually trying to, well, it's his idea, and it's been what's the word? Not groundbreaking, but it's changed the dynamic of our club meetings, as well as now you can come along and enjoy it as a modern experience. It's not a building meeting. It's not a social meeting so much. It's a place to discuss club affairs, but then it also needs to warrant you wanting to come. So with a new member, his idea was for it to have talks, group discussions, stuff like this, and it's really worked well. Anyway, I'm digressing, but I can't remember what our conversation was about now. I'll come back. So yeah, just getting a bit more glue in there now, so that's working nice. You can just double check that that's going to fit. We can take it. I've got the masking on there, so I'm going to get the masking off and double check. I've got a whopping great gap to fill here, so I'll take that off and I'll start filling that gap, and then like here, then just slightly sand it back with the super glue before it goes fully brittle. So we're in 20 minutes or so of filling the gap. I'll go in there with the super glue over the sander, just to get it flush. Should probably try and remember what my conversation was. Talking. That was it. We were talking about super glues. And I said to him how over the years, with other manufacturers of super glue, not the VMS, I found that they always just went off so quick. So I kind of learned the lesson. I didn't really want to have 5 types of super glue on the go at once, because after 3 months they would dry up. I'll be throwing it away. Now I discovered the VMS, which I'm sure I've showed you before. I'll see better in the black. But in these lids, they actually have, so you can see right down in there, there is actually like a pin. So that sits in the aperture, and that stops it from clogging. And because it stops it from clogging, I think you get a better fix with the lid, less stopping air getting in there, I guess. Anyway, I find these don't dry up after. In fact, I've got a couple of year-old ones, which might be, I think they slow down after about a year with how quick they dry. They will still dry. They're perfectly good for filler. And I haven't yet filled this one, but I did recently go ahead and fill the leading edges. There's too much stuff about for it to zoom in onto focus, I think. So yeah, so the leading edges have now been filled with VMS black super glue and the CA fitted and sanded back. Right, so I can show you there's a big old gap in here. So I'm going to fill it up with the glue, build it up. Because it's clear, when I paint the framework, it will just emit the colour from either side. If it's a little bit shiny, I can always get up in there with a little bit of matte and just matte it out. I need to just slightly stiffen that gun because it seems to have been bent in the process, but that's all good. This is all filled now, so, and what we really needed was for these bits to be flush. He's a little bit off there. I might just better sand that out a little bit. I'll show you what I'll do. So when I'm sanding, I'm being careful not to go onto the glaze surface. Yeah. If I'm worried, I'll put a bit of masking tape on there. On the F, no, it's the G, isn't it? On the G, I actually went in there and I carved some off this small window here at the front, and then I polished it back. So carving it and then a slight polish seemed to work better than heavy sanding. Okay, we can get some more super glue in there. There we go. I'm gonna let that dry, and then I'll get in there and sand it. And that's how I feel. Likewise, the front bit I'm confident won't fog, but the back is quite a lot of filling. So that will probably need a slight polish. But like I said, I've experimented and we're using just the finished part of the trilogy of the Tamiya polishing pastes or compounds. Just using the finish, it will take off, and it's a tiny amount of buffing or work. It takes hardly any swipe passes with it to bring it back to shine or translucency and get rid of the fogging. Okay, there we are for now. In the next video, I'll show you how it looks after I've filled and got rid of the fogging, and then we move on to masking the canopies. Like I said, I've got for three of the 4 kits, I've got canopy masks pre-cut, and they're not probably going to fit, but then quite often pre-cut canopy masks don't always fit the model they're meant for anyway, not precisely like I want it. So sometimes you have to slice and dice them and make them fit, but it's a good starting point. So I'll show you how we can tweak the pre-cut masks to make them fit better, and I'll also show you me masking one from scratch and how I do that. Okay, as always, don't forget to add the fine details to your small scale models, because if you do, it'll stick out like a sore asshole. Cheers for now.